I tried to sit down with Ace for probably 15 minutes on a FaceTime call to step him through a fractions question. Um, our game plan's a lot simpler than that fraction equation. Um, and it's actually one thing knowing it, it's another thing trying to teach it. So I've got great admiration and respect for all of the teachers out there that are trying to, and I can understand parents that are trying to homeschool, over the first period of isolation, and then again now it's, the struggle is real.
How do you view the matchup and the rivalry with West Coast? I mean, Collingwood and the Eagles have always, I think, butted heads through their histories, but in recent times it's been, both at the peak of the powers.
Yeah, look, I think obviously the premiership that West Coast won in 18, and the fact that they got over the top of us in the grand final in that game, builds some form of a rivalry or a I suppose that there's recent history in big games. We've got great respect for the West Coast and the way that they've gone about it. We think they've been a really consistent side over the last couple of years in particular. And personally, I've got a great deal of respect for Adam Simpson and the way that he carries himself, the way that he's gone about his coaching career, his playing career, and I just think they're a good club. They ask some real questions of you in the way that they go about their games, their football. So we've got a task ahead of us on Sunday.
Hey Bucks, can I just ask you about your reaction to learning of Jordan's injury and the severity of it, and the fact that he probably won't be back for most of this year?
Yeah, no, we were aware of that pretty much straight away, straight after the game. I think we communicated he'd be out for a fair period of time, and we thought, anticipated immediately after the match that the diagnosis was going to be that he'd need surgery on that tendon injury, and that that's 8 to 10 weeks. Eight's on the light side. 10's probably about what we would expect. There's no mucking around with those, unfortunately, and as we've said, as innocuous as it seemed, if he's to want to use that finger in his future, he's got to get it fixed, and it takes time for that to heal. So that's unfortunate for him and for us, but it's something that in that split second, once it's done, there's nothing you can do about it. He did really well to finish the game off.
Obviously, teams are only a little bit away. Can you give us any idea of who will come in out of that extended squad?
Made a bit of a habit, haven't I? Rod from my back. No, I won't. I won't declare that as at this point. But obviously, with the compressed fixture that's been handed out, there's no doubt that we've always been a side that's relied on the depth of our squad. We've got in that extended bench. We've got Darcy Cameron or Ben Reid who can come in and give us a little bit of aerial support, maybe both. We've got some blokes that are going to be really good ground level players with good hunt and pressure. We've got some defensive coverage. So we've performed really well in our practice matches, and we've had quite a few of those, which has been fortunate. We didn't know if we were going to be able to play one, let alone sort of get the 5 or 6 that we've had in the last period of time. So we've got quite a deep squad. We had 41 out on the track today. We feel like we're in good shape, and boys have got their hands up and ready to contribute as they're called upon over that next sort of 4 or 5 weeks.
Obviously, Ben Reid and Darcy Cameron are the tall options. Last week, Mason Cox, the late withdrawal. Where does it leave Mason in terms of the pecking order now?
Yeah, it's I suppose it's hard to avoid the pecking order feel and the reality that at different times you are in competition with other people for the roles that you play in the side. Mason has an opportunity to go back and whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks to to apply his trade and bring his strengths to the table. He probably, last week it was more than likely it was going to be wet. So rather than make that change into the 22 or into that squad, we thought that he was still a legitimate option for our tall target there if we needed it. Darcy and Reedy at the moment have probably trained better and are showing better signs than Mason, but that leaves him going back and finding some form. As I said, bringing his strengths to the table and reasserting his claims to come back into to our best side to help us be the best side we can be. At various times, individuals are going to be in or out of favour. And it'll be aligned with their form more often than not. But Mason's no different to everyone else. He'll be in the side if he makes us better, and others will be chosen in front of him if we feel that is the case in the short term.
So did you like the look of the more medium to small sized forward line, regardless of the weather against Geelong?
It's a very, very small sample size, and there'll be different structures that we'll go with depending on what the opposition are asking of us and where we think we can get an advantage. We think that worked relatively effectively last weekend. We still had 5 of our goals scored by one player who won't be playing this week, but we think we were able to create enough opportunities for each other. We were able to hold the ball in our front half quite a bit and put the Geelong backs under a fair bit of pressure, which was part of the strategy. We feel like our offence can improve and we can do a lot more in that space. Not all of that is in front of the ball. A lot of it is at the ball, and I think that we've shown signs in the last couple of weeks that our offence is starting to get up and about. Depending how the games are played over that next month, I'd expect us to score a lot more heavily in that next 3 or 4 weeks and establish more scoreboard pressure with the way that we're going to go about it.
Nathan, it's Roy from the Age here, mate. Just wanted to know with the forwards, where do you see those goals coming from, considering De Goey's taking quite a portion of his scoring out of the lineup with him? We've never really relied on individual goal kickers, and that's a bit rich of me saying that when Geordie's just kicked 5, and that's nearly worth 10 in footy in 2020. But he kicking those last 3 goals was exceptional for us. He definitely was a match winner last week. We believe we've got a structure that everyone gets a lick of the ice cream. We've been able to spread our scoring, and I think we've been pretty hard to scout over a number of the last 3 years in particular as a forward group because our scoring could come from anywhere. We haven't scored as heavily or as freely at this stage of this year as we would have liked. We believe we can still improve on our connection going inside forward 50, and that we can still make some really simple decisions to give the person who ultimately has the shot the best chance of hitting the scoreboard. So we're not necessarily concerned about individuals as such. We think our system is starting to come together. Our forward mix and the supply that they get from our backs and mids, we think can go to another level. So I don't know necessarily where the goals are going to come from, but I'm pretty sure we can spread the load and start hitting the scoreboard more heavily.
G'day Nathan, it's Justin Chadwick here from AAP. Just wanted to ask what practice match you have lined up for this week, and is that the way that Mason Cox got to force his way back into the squad by performing well there?
Yeah, Cox will be one of 17 or 18 that will play in a practice match against West Coast on the Sunday afternoon. So it'll be after the AFL match, and the plan is to go out to their home base and have a run around. It'll be a 16 v 16 type match practice again. The boys have been playing those games have been excellent. And we've got a lot of options available to us because of the form of the guys that are in those matches at present.
Nathan, can I ask an off-field question quickly?
Yep.
You mentioned before talking to Ace this morning, and I guess that pulls at the heartstrings and makes you feel a bit homesick. I can imagine there's lots of those conversations going on with your players as well. I've seen Nathan Brown leave the St Kilda hub this morning. Are you talking more about that sort of homesickness feeling and the calls of home and the potential for players to leave?
Yeah, well, I think it's inevitable. We're all going through that process of where do you need to be right now. I think we're quite fortunate in our circumstances, and I think that we're really good at finding the positive and the opportunity in our circumstances at the worst of times. But you can't ignore the challenge and the the discomfort that is caused when you're away from your family, and some of our staff, some of our players will feel that more keenly than others due to different circumstances. But the reality is that we've come over here and our families haven't been able to come over. The WA government has been stricter with that than ultimately the Queensland government seems to be. So our players and staff have been able to arrange for the families that they want to have up there to be up in a transition hub at this stage, so a form of quarantine. And they will actually be coming out of that quarantine when we arrive up in Queensland after our game against Fremantle. So there's sort of blue sky on the horizons for a lot of our people, and there'll be a second wave of families that if they want to come up there, get the opportunity to come up on August 1 and start a quarantine period from then. So for us, it's really we're optimistic about it. This period has a relative an end date to it, and a lot of our people will be back with their families if they chose to have them up there in the next couple of weeks, which for us is another fillip. For us to establish sort of the reasons why we're making these sacrifices, and that is to succeed on the football field and to enjoy what we're doing in the process.
What about for you? With obviously your boys are school age and in the middle of school and holidays until September. What are your plans?
Yeah, well, the boys are homeschooling again, and we've discussed whether they've got the chance to come up a little bit later. It's not something that we've acted upon at this point, but I'm in constant contact with the boys, and I think they're relative homebodies, so they're comfortable there at this point. Actually, the young one gets restless. I think he'd be up at the drop of a hat, but they'll either all be up or they'll all stay at this point for me.
Nathan, just a quick follow-up about injuries and lengths of time. Is it hard to put a line through someone at the moment, like a De Goey, knowing that if we were held up a few weeks, suddenly there would be a couple of weeks on the end of the season, he might be able to come back and help you right at the end?
Yeah, no, we're not putting a line through anyone, and the ones that and the people that might do that are not in our environment. We haven't done anything but find the opportunity and the importance of every one of our individuals on and off the field. So Geordie's still in hub. He's got the opportunity to. There's not a lot that he can do with that finger to heal it much quicker, but whatever he can do, he will do. It's all hands on deck. Jeremy Howe, as I just mentioned, he's up at that transition quarantine period at the moment, and he'll be with the group when we get up to Queensland. Will Kelly will be up there on August 1 and be in with us a couple of weeks later. Some guys will be pushing to be back before the season ends, but there's plenty that we don't know about what's to come. We can only really take the next steps in front of us, and we've got a pretty healthy squad to do that. But no, we won't be putting a line through anyone with the unknown of what is to come.
Nathan, I know you've had a few days to take in the fixture, but I think it's 4 games in 14 days, which as far as the rest of the competition goes is probably the most packed 4-game schedule. How does that sit with you, and how you prepare for it?
Yeah, we're really well placed to handle whatever's thrown at us, wherever, however, against whomever. So we understand that there was going to be a compression take place. So we're fully focused on the game for Sunday and getting the right result there and being able to execute our football for 4 quarters. We know we've got 7 days into Fremantle beyond that. We won't be able to get out on the Sunday. We'll get out on the Monday, and it's a pretty quick turnaround to the Sydney game, which will be on the Thursday. We will have to spread the load amongst our squad. There's no doubt about that. But as I've said, we feel like we've got players that are fit and motivated and ready. For a lot of those boys, hearing about the compression and the fact that there were short turnarounds, some with travel, some without, they're all of a sudden they're even a little more motivated than they might have been before that to see the opportunity to be able to contribute. So, there's a reason why you have a squad of 45 plus. Injuries to buffer injuries is one reason, but when you get into these situations in a season, it takes more than a 22. We've always believed that, and we get a chance to follow up our words, I suppose, and walk the talk.
Are you essentially saying that your depth will be your greatest weapon in this chase for a premiership? Given you don't have Jeremy Howe, your most dangerous defender, and then your most dangerous forward, Jordan Ngoe, not there as well. So is your depth your greatest weapon in this chase?
Sounds like a good headline, Corey. I think we've always rated our depth. We've rated our capacity to prepare our players to play AFL footy when called upon. And we've seen, I think over the last 2 or 3 years, our system has seen young players asked to step up seemingly before their time on occasions and play really important roles for us. And I think that is probably more prevalent and more a reality in the current paradigm than it ever has been. So we've always had our players feel like they're working towards being able to contribute more heavily at the top level, and as we said, there's going to be opportunity and the reality to do that. In the short term, the next month is going to see clubs go to the depth of their lists at times, to have to rotate players in and out of the side, and to be able to trust in their system as much as what might be a perceived level of talent. It's actually the sum of the parts that's more important than the parts themselves, and we do pride ourselves on that. All good? All right, I'll get back to my maths.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks.